Voters keep saying over and over again, we are not comfortable with this level of immigration. I understand why. It doesn't make you a racist to say that. And yet, the liberal parts of, certainly in America, Alex Padilla said last week, he is our senator here, by reviving Trump's asylum ban, Biden has undermined American values. And then they all stand back and go, we don't want to be called a racist, so we will not make a move on immigration.
Everyone is criticizing the left for their disastrous sanctuary city experiments, and now Maher has officially joined the fray. He claims the entire concept was never practical and even warned the DNC about it early on, but they refused to listen. That stubbornness has now contributed to one of the worst migrant crises in modern history, and Maher can no longer keep silent. Buckle up, because this commentary is scorching hot.
It's again the same principle as I was saying before about like the reverse of what liberalism really is. Liberalism is, for the sake of humanity and compassion, can we get these people off the streets? And woke is, how dare you ask them to move? This is their home.
They have rights.
No, it's not. There's easily a better solution to this. Instead, they put them in hotels? That's your answer, hotels? Could everybody just stop the posturing?
Maher takes a firm stance on what he considers true liberalism, and it certainly doesn't involve turning city streets into open-air shelters. He argues that genuine compassion means getting the homeless off the streets and into real help, rather than making their current conditions more comfortable. For Maher, real liberalism addresses the root causes of homelessness, including mental illness, addiction, and chronic joblessness. Rejecting the idea of romanticizing homelessness as an alternative lifestyle, he openly criticizes those who insist the homeless should simply be left wherever they camp, calling it a symptom of the fringe left. In his view, refusing to intervene isn't kindness, it's negligence disguised as virtue. Maher reminds his audience that liberalism once stood for practical solutions that help people rebuild their lives with dignity and structure, not indulging delusion under the banner of empathy. As he emphasizes, progress isn't found in ignoring suffering, it's found in ending it.
Don't pretend that you love migrants so much, and then when we send them to you, you don't like them. You know? You're full of and we can see that. Yeah, you like them when it wasn't your problem because you're not a border state. And then when they show up in Chicago and New York, you're like, what are we going to do with these people?
Yeah.
That's true. We've seen several non-border blue states, like New York, Illinois, and Massachusetts, loudly champion open borders when it's politically convenient, only to panic the moment migrants actually arrive. Far removed from the southern border, these states were quick to virtue signal about limitless compassion and unconditional welcome. But when buses filled with migrants started arriving in New York City, when Chicago's shelters overflowed, and when Massachusetts declared a state of emergency, their tune suddenly changed. They preach empathy and inclusion as long as the cameras are rolling, yet the moment migrants appear on their doorstep, they scramble to push them away or plead for federal intervention. It's a stark display of hypocrisy, revealing the vast gap between their lofty rhetoric and the harsh reality they never prepared for. Turns out, it's very easy to demand open borders when it's someone else's backyard being flooded.
Eventually, this was going to come to a neighborhood near you. Having someone embedded is a good start. That came from the Secretary of Homeland Security. We want to thank him. But I've been very clear on what we need. We need to control the border. We need to call a state of emergency, and we need to properly fund this national crisis.
That's Mayor Eric Adams, once one of the loudest advocates for open borders and proud to brand New York as a sanctuary city. But now, confronted with an overwhelming migrant crisis, he's singing a very different tune. Adams has learned the hard way that the open border approach was never sustainable, shelters are overflowing, the city's budget is spiraling out of control, and residents are fed up. Suddenly, he's calling for stronger border control, an ironic turnaround from the man who once welcomed everyone with open arms. It's refreshing to see a dose of reality finally break through. But what about leaders like Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass or California Governor Gavin Newsom? Don't expect them to admit the open borders agenda was a colossal mistake. They'll continue defending the illusion of compassion while their cities buckle under the weight of their own failed ideology.
Alex Padilla said last week, he is our senator here, by reviving Trump's asylum ban, Biden has undermined American values. And then they all stand back and go, we don't want to be called a racist, so we will not make a move on immigration. It's going to get them at Election Day. It's happening in Europe right now. That proves it in Europe, and it's going to happen here in America.
And that, right there, is the real problem. Many Democrats quietly recognize that the open borders approach is undermining America's safety and stretching its resources to the breaking point. Behind the scenes, they see the strain on major cities, the rise in crime, and social services overwhelmed beyond capacity. But when the cameras are on, they fall in line and pretend everything is fine. Why? Because speaking the truth now comes with a steep price. The moment anyone dares to question the policy, the fringe left swoops in with accusations of xenophobia, cruelty, or betrayal. So instead of honesty, there's silence. Instead of leadership, there's fear and political self-preservation. Many Democrats would rather protect their image than safeguard the country, and that's why this crisis drags on, because courage has been replaced by cowardice wrapped in political correctness.
It's going to get them at Election Day. It's happening in Europe right now. That proves it in Europe, and it's going to happen here in America.
There's a real moral reason that we should let people into this country who are suffering.
At any number?
No, I mean,
but that's their point. But 64% of Latinos support giving the president authority to shut down the U.S. borders. 62% of registered voters would deport all migrants living in the U.S. illegally.
Hate immigrants.
They don't hate immigrants.
This is where things get really interesting. According to the statistics Bill Maher cited, even immigrants themselves are against open borders. The very people the left claims to be protecting actually support stronger border control. They understand better than anyone the chaos and instability that come with uncontrolled immigration. Many of these immigrants came legally, followed the rules, and worked hard to build their lives, only to watch the system stretched thin by those who cross with no accountability. They know that compassion without structure isn't kindness, it's chaos. Having witnessed firsthand the destruction that lawlessness can bring, often in the countries they left behind, they recognize the consequences of borders breaking down. So, if the very people liberals claim to save are calling for tighter borders, perhaps Democratic leadership should start listening. Ignoring those who have lived the experience isn't progressive, it's dangerously reckless.
What do you New Yorkers think of how Mayor Eric Adams and Governor Kathy Hochul?
Yes, you pronounced it right.
I take it you're a big fan. Have handled the city's migrant crisis. I saw today they're offering any of these migrants, this sounds like a game show, a plane trip to anywhere in the world. There's policy, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
Yeah, that's pure desperation. Mayor Eric Adams and Governor Kathy Hochul have both hit their breaking point with the migrant crisis and decided to get creative, or at least that's what they convinced themselves. Their big solution? Offering free plane rides for migrants to relocate elsewhere. On paper, it sounds generous, maybe even clever. But almost nobody is taking those flights. These migrants didn't risk everything just to end up anywhere. They came specifically to the United States and aren't about to hop on a plane to some random destination just to make New York's problems disappear. The plan flopped spectacularly, exposing how poorly thought out the approach really was, a policy built on feel-good slogans rather than real strategy. Now, the same Democrats who once bragged about being a sanctuary for all are quietly trying to distance themselves from the crisis they helped create. They're running from their own policies but can't admit it publicly, because doing so would mean acknowledging that conservatives were right all along.
But didn't some of these places sort of deserve it, I'll ask you this, by saying we're a sanctuary city, like how these terrible racist border states were, and then when they called their bluff and sent the migrants to them, they were like, suddenly they weren't quite so liberal. They're what I call liberal in theory people. No. A lot of people are liberal in theory, and when the migrants arrived, they were like, what the
I'd call it what it is, double standards. Liberals have perfected the art of saying whatever sounds good to the crowd, especially when cameras are rolling and election season is looming. They preach compassion, equality, and inclusion, delivering carefully crafted sound bites designed to earn applause and secure votes. But when those same policies spiral out of control and create real-world chaos, all that remains is silence, denial, and finger-pointing. Under pressure, they scramble to distance themselves, pretending they never supported the ideas they once championed so loudly. The moment their feel-good rhetoric collides with reality, they run for cover. It's political theater at its worst. Perform empathy when it's convenient, abandon responsibility when it's not. True leadership means standing by your convictions even when things go wrong, but for many liberals today, it's all about optics, not outcomes, and that hypocrisy is finally catching up with them.
Part of this is a backlash to how badly Biden handled the immigration situation. It can't just be like come one, come all, which
Dude,
it was.
There's plenty of room here, and we need
Room.
There's plenty of room in America. Come on, there's not a lack of room in America.
But it's never about room. It's about resources and about like having countries have to have a border. It just can't be. I mean, they've done surveys and something like 200 million people around the world, when asked, would you come to America if you could? Yes, I would. Why wouldn't they? Lots of countries, are holes,
right,
and they would love to be here. You can't
I'm not right. No, right. The places aren't holes, but
well, they are. That's why they want to come.
And it's usually because of America, what America's done.
Bill Maher sums it up perfectly. It's not about room, it's about resources. America may be vast, wealthy, and powerful, but even the greatest nation on earth has limits. You can't endlessly invite the entire world in when housing, healthcare, schools, and social services are already stretched to the breaking point. Compassion without capacity isn't compassion, it's slow-motion self-destruction disguised as virtue. Maher argues that instead of flooding across borders, migrants should channel that same determination into improving their own countries, fighting corruption, demanding accountability, and building something better at home. Running to America cannot be the only solution. Every nation has a responsibility to create opportunities for its own citizens, because if the US collapses under the weight of everyone else's problems, nobody wins. Saying no isn't cruelty, it's realism, and a necessary defense of a nation's survival.
Immigrants don't like it that the left seems to have this unrelenting negativity toward the country that these immigrants work so hard to get here.
Good point.
They really worked hard to get here, and when Trump says, "Oh," I think a lot of them are going, "Yeah, you're right. It's where I came from. Why do you think I got on the ocean on a raft or walked 1,000 miles because I was living in paradise? There are places that are in this world, and the immigrants know."
I might not use Bill Maher's exact words, but he's absolutely right about one thing: countless countries are far less desirable than America, which is why millions risk everything to come here in search of safety, opportunity, and a better future. But here's the hard truth too many refuse to acknowledge: welcoming everyone without proper screening, documentation, or accountability doesn't make us noble or compassionate, it makes us dangerously vulnerable. Unchecked immigration isn't compassion, it's chaos waiting to happen. When people arrive without order or oversight, we don't know who they are, what their intentions might be, or how our already strained communities and services will handle the added pressure. America can continue to be a beacon of hope, but only if it protects the qualities that make it worth coming to in the first place: order, law, stability, and a system that actually works. Ignore those foundations, and it's only a matter of time before our country begins to resemble the very places people are fleeing. Maher's message cuts through the political noise: compassion cannot come at the cost of survival. Sanctuary cities have collapsed under their own hypocrisy, blue states that once championed open borders are backpedaling, and even immigrants themselves are calling for stronger, controlled borders. Yet the left refuses to admit what is obvious: open borders don't save anyone, they endanger everyone. Real liberalism isn't built on slogans or virtue signaling, it's built on practical, sustainable solutions that actually help people. Until Democrats accept that a nation without control isn't a nation at all, this crisis will only worsen. America's heart may be big, but its resources, infrastructure, and patience are not limitless.